Are you ready for a story today? Welcome to my humble land. I hope you are enjoying it. Does it look good? Do you know John had a beautiful land like this and he had planted seedling. Are you ready for the story? It happened like this. John was in the land just like this one. And then Carol was somewhere else up very far away. And John was like, Carol, Carol, come and look. John, why are you shouting? I'm here. Hey, just look at my land. Do you remember the seeds that I was planting? Look at the way they are. They are doing so good. I've planted them very well. All of a sudden, you know Carol, with all her kierere, this is what she did. She went and found some seedlings. And the seedlings were so beautiful, and she was like, oh my God, it is hard for me to understand how these small seedlings can become a plant. Oh, oops. Oh, the seeds have split. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Then John was so angry, fuming. Have you ever seen like a train on fire? He was so fuming, wondering what he will do. Then suddenly, a very tall gentleman, a wonderful uncle, Uncle Peter. Hi, Uncle Peter. And then he came smiling. Wow, John, you've really done a great job. I see the plants are in a neat row. This is awesome. Congratulations. Wait a minute, Uncle Peter. John said, Carol hasn't helped me at all doing this. She messed everything up. Look, she poured the seeds. I can't even be able to pick them. They're so tiny. All right, calm down, calm down. Forget about it. Come, boys, I need to tell you something. Are you ready? I need to tell you something. Have you ever realized that these plants that you see had an origin from the plants that God created in the beginning? Do you know that? Do you really know that, children? Listen to this. God gives life. And He's the only one who can help or keeps on it going. Then Carol was like, really, Uncle Peter? I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. I knew that everything happens for a chance. Oh, even me, John, I was taught by a teacher. He said this, that everything, all kind of things happens by chance. And that all the different kind of things just evolved over a year. Then Uncle Peter thought about this. And he was thinking of what will happen or how he will explain to these children exactly the way they will be able to understand. Listen to what Uncle Peter said. He said, John, did you notice what happened when Carol spilled the seeds? Yes. Did you notice when you planted the seeds that they were neat in a row? What do you think the difference is? Then John was like, Carol is messy, but I am not. Uncle Peter looked at them and wondered, they really don't understand what they're thinking. And he said, yes, Carol was so sad. And this is what she said, John, it wasn't my mistake. I didn't drop it by mistake. It just happened. And John said, you did it intentionally. If only you didn't touch it, then this could not have happened. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Then listen to what Uncle Peter told them. Do you think that the different designs in flowers, the trees and the leaves and animals just happened by a chance? And they said, I don't think it happened by a chance. Something must have happened. Somebody must have done it to be the way they are. And this is what Uncle Peter told them. Exactly. You are very right, kids. This is what happens. God did it. He is the maker of everything. He decides everything of how it will be and how it will grow. So God does everything. He created everything and he decided how everything will look at. And John was like, wow, I didn't know that all these things, we can learn a lot from the Bible. And we are just getting started. I hope you enjoyed the story. Are you ready for this? For another lesson next time? Stay right there.
Hi kids, you know, I always wanted to be a doctor. I'm not a doctor now, I'm a teacher. I like teaching more. I know what you wanted to be when you grow up. Ama, what do you want to be when you grow up? A farmer, an astronomer, Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. If you become a farmer, where will you get the plants from? I know what you're going to say. Plants are already there. What if you become an astronomer? Yes, an astronomer studies the stars, the moon, the galaxies. If you become an astronomer, what will you study? Where will you get your stars, your moon? Where will you get them? I know what you're going to say. They are already there. Now today's lesson will tell us where everything came from. The Bible tells us where everything came from. Now God created everything that you want, everything that you see. If you want to be an astronomer, God created the stars. If you want to be a farmer, God created the plants. If you want to be the doctor, I didn't become a doctor though. God created the people that you're going to be working with, to be treating. Yeah, God created everything. Now, I've told you God created everything. Let's find it in the Bible. We've been learning about beginning and how the world came to be, that God created everything. In the beginning, God. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Then we are told about the first day. The first day, God creates the light. The second day, God creates. What does God create in the second day? Let's see it in the Bible. In Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In Genesis chapter 2, the earth was formless, darkness covered the surface of the water's depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, let there be light. This is in the first day. There was light, and God saw that the light was good. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was evening, and there was morning, one day. Verse 6, then God said, let there be an expanse between the waters, separating the water from the waters. So God made the expanse to separate the water under the expanse from the water above the expanse. And it was so. God called the expanse the sky. Evening came, and then morning, second day. Then God said, let the water and the sky be gathered, let the water under the sky be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. God called the dry land earth. And the gathering of the water he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the earth produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and fruits, and fruit trees on the earth bearing fruit, with seed in it according to their kinds. And so it was. The earth produced vegetation, seed-bearing plants according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw it was good. Evening came, then morning, the third day. Then God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night. They will serve as signs for seasons, for the days and years. They will be lights in the expanse. There will be lights in. Then God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night. The earth, they will serve as signs for seasons and for days and for years. There will be lights in the expanse of the skies to provide the light on the earth, and so it was. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule over the day, and the lesser light to rule over the night, as well as the stars. God placed them in the expanse of the skies to provide light on the earth, to rule the day and the night, to separate light from darkness. And God saw it was good. Evening came, and then morning, the fourth day. Then God said, let the water swarm with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky. So God created a large sea creatures, and every living creature that moves and swarms on water, according to their kind. He also created every winged creature according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters of the sea, and let the birds multiply on the earth. Evening came, and then morning, the fifth day. Then God said, let the earth produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that crawl, and the wildlife of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. So God made the wildlife of the earth according to their kinds, the living creatures, the livestock according to their kinds, and all creatures that crawl on the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth. So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them, male and female. Now, you see, guys, God created everything. On the first day, we have God creating the light, separating light from darkness, calling the light day, calling the darkness night. On the second day, the scripture tells us, and God said, then whatever God wanted to create, he created. On the third day, and God said, and whatever he wanted to create, he created. On the fourth day, and God said. So you see, guys, everything that there is, God created it. And how did he create? He created it by his word. By the word of God, we understand that all things in the universe were created. All things, and God said. That's how everything that we know of came to be. On the third day, the water separated from other waters. That's how we get the dry land. And the dry land, God called it the earth. On the same day, God brought forth from this ground that he had created, he brought forth the plants. Then we go to the fourth day. On the fourth day, God goes back to the first day of creation. You'll see that God creating, he creates and creates now. On the first day he creates this. On the second day he creates this. On the third day he creates this. God had the power to create everything at one go, but God does not do that. What God does is, on the first day he creates the lights, separating light from darkness. So we have the day and we have the night. Now we go to day 4. On day 4, what we see is God goes back to what he had created on day 1. What does he do? To the lights, he makes the sun, so that the sun marks the seasons, marks the day and the night. You see? On the same creation of day 1. Now it's day 4. God goes back and creates now the moon, the stars, yeah. And these are to mark the night. The moon is the one that gives us light during the night. On day 5, what did God create on day 2? On day 2, God created a space, yeah? God created an expanse or a space between the earth and a space between the earth and now the clouds or the skies or the heavens. Now in this earth, God gives us the flying animals. God gives us the birds. Again, on the earth where he had created the plants, what else had he created on day 2? He had created the expanse separating the waters below, the waters above. So that's the space or the atmosphere. Now we go to day 3. On day 3, God creates an expanse. No, God gathers the waters. God gathers the waters so that we have big water masses such as the Indian Ocean, we have the Mediterranean Sea, we have what else? The Atlantic Oceans. He creates those water bodies, gathering the waters together so that we have those seas. So when gathering the waters, what we get? We get also the dry land. Now the dry land, what does God do with the dry land? God raises up vegetation. Now we get dry land called the earth. God calls it the earth. And the waters that are gathered, he calls the sea. And on the land, he brings forth plants. And what does God say about these plants? He gives his word so that each plant produces more plants. Now you can be told, I told you when I began that God created everything. Now you can ask me, did God create the apple mango? Of course God created a mango. Then we as people, as God had given word and command so that each plant produces its kind, God also enabled us to develop these things. Now I told you I wanted to be a doctor. You told me you wanted to be a farmer. If you are a farmer, then you learn that God enables these plants to be able to develop into more plants such that ukikuwa na this kind of plant, you can get another kind of plant, but still it will be a plant. Now, on day 4, on day 1, we learned that God had created the lights. We learned that God had created light so that he separated night from day. Now, on day 4, God comes back to this creation. And God puts a sun in the day so that this sun is the one that marks a season for us to know it's daytime. If I asked you in the morning, how do you know it's morning or it's nighttime? You just looked up. You just look up. If there's a sun, it's daytime. If there's a moon or the stars, probably it's nighttime. Sindio? And that's how we know that it's nighttime. And that's by God's design and by God's word. God made it so that kukikuwa usiku, we have the moon, we have the stars. If it's during the day, we have the sun. Now we go to day 5. And God said. Now God says and creates. Going back to day 2. You remember day 2? God created an expanse to separate the waters above from the waters below. Now, and these waters below are gathered to create the seas. So going to day 5, what does God do with the waters? God introduces fish. God introduces whales, God introduces the octopus, God introduces the crocodiles, God introduces all these animals that live in the waters. In day 2, God created a space. He created a space so that there is space between the earth and the waters above the sky. And what does God do to this earth, or to this space that is all air? Now God creates flying animals. Yeah, flying animals, I mean birds. God creates the birds so that the birds can make this atmosphere, this place where it's all air, beautiful. Something else God did on this day. We know that after God had gathered the waters, what did we get? We got the land. What does God do to this land? He gave it vegetation. Interesting. Interesting. On day 5, the same day, this vegetation now we have, what does God do to it? If you are God, what will you do? Now God is creative. God can create. God knows how to bring up things which are to us unimaginable, beautiful things. God brings to this now new vegetation, He brings animals. In the vegetations, in the land, God brings animals. We have the lions. What other animals? We have the elephants, we have the giraffes, we have the bats. You've seen the bats? Yeah, we have the bats, we have flamingos. God creates the animals that are going to depend on this vegetation that He had created on day 3. Also on day 5, God creates something special. God created you and me. Not exactly me and you, Adam and Eve. And through Adam and Eve, like through your mom and dad, and through their mom and dad, that way, if you go back and back and back, you will find we have Adam and Eve. Those were the first 2 people. Now, when God said, let there be, let there be, let there be. When creating man, God does it in a special way. God doesn't say, let there be a man, let there be a woman. No. God takes time and molds man in His hand. God brings out the most beautiful part of His creation. He says, let's make man in our image. And He takes time to even go to the ground and make man out of the ground. Now, we find that there is man, there are the animals, and the plants. Now, these 3 are kind of special. You see, for the plants, for the other things, like things that don't move, don't do anything, when God said, let there be the sky, let there be the stars, these things, God just said, it is good. But coming to the plants, He said, and the Bible tells us, and God blessed them. And God blessed them. Now this is different from this is good. God saying this is good. God says a special thing about these things. Like He says a special blessing for man. He says a special blessing for the plants. He says a special blessing for the animals. For the plants and the for the man and for the animals, we find that their blessing is to, like the plants, to be fruitful and to multiply. Now you'll see that in plants, in animals, and in man, we go on multiplying. We go on becoming many. The animals, if you have a chicken lays egg, and it was one chicken lays like 6 eggs. Then after they hatch, we have like 10 chickens. If you have a cow, it has calves. You have 3 cows in the long run. If it's a man, like people get married, they have children, and they multiply and become fruitful. That's the blessing of God. Now, out of all this creation, He said, if you wanted to be a farmer, you'll find that God has given you something to work with. Now you can also develop that, make it multiply, make it more beautiful. If you want to become a scientist, you will find that God has given you all these things to study. If you become an astronomer, we said an astronomer studies the heavenly bodies. God will give you the things to study, like the stars, the moon, everything. God created everything. Now we've learned about God's great and beautiful creation. Now when you go back to school, perhaps, just perhaps, someone will tell you, we humans came from monkeys. Imagine they'll tell you that. We were created, or we came, no, we were not created. They'll tell you, we came from monkeys. That monkeys started, you know the way monkeys started rising up till they started walking and they became people. But I don't think so. I think we were created. If you look at the earth, just like you are looking at the garden with Teacher Gladys, you'll find that there is order in the whole universe. Like, look at the sunflower plants. Ukiangalia hiyo maua, it has petals that are well arranged. Look at yourself. Just make a line here and you'll find that all of this side and all of this side are similar. That's order. God made everything in such great order that you can't refuse and say, hizi vitu tu zilitokea. Or like they say, we came from monkeys. I don't think so. God created each one of us. But anyway, now I hope you become a scientist one day. If you become a scientist, you'll be able to read and research and be able to tell the world through some evidence found in the earth, because God has said that the evidence is in the world, in the things we see. Then you'll be able to tell the world that God created everything that we see. God created you, God created me. And I hope you become a great farmer, because through farming still, you can show the world that God has brought great order, great beauty into the world. All these things God did because He loved us. He loved us so much that He went an extra step, not just to make food for us, He also made flowers. And what's the purpose of flowers other than, He could have made flowers and yazinuki smart, but God went an extra step and made flowers that looks beautiful and smell extra nice. Like a giraffe, what would you say the function of the long neck is? It didn't need a long neck in order to feed, but God saw it fit that let the giraffe have a long neck. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, we'll be learning about creation. Now let's go to some few questions and let's see whether you've got everything that we've been learning and whether you can remember. Question 1. What did God do to create the sun, the moon, and the stars? How did God create them, I mean? What did God do to create the sun, the moon, and the stars? The answer is God just spoke and God said. That's what the Bible tells us, and that's the truth. What did God create? Why did God create so many kinds of plants, animals, trees? Why did God have to create all these things the way they are? He could have made one plant and said to the people, like to Adam and Eve, mtakuwa mnakula kutoka kwa hiyo mti ya mandizi. But God didn't do that. He created bananas, He created apples. Why did God have to go to that extra level? Because God loved us. Yeah, because God loved us. Can anyone besides God make a living creature? That's interesting. Can anyone make a living creature? Now you can make a car, you can make a house. Can anyone make something that is alive? Something like another person, something like another plant. Anything living, only God can create. So the answer is no. Question number 5. Who designed everything in the universe? That's a simple one. God. The answer is God. Question number 5. What did God say about everything He created? From our reading, what did God say about everything He created? And God said it was good. Now, I want you to remember these words, and God said. Everything that is there, God created. And He created by His command. And God said. And God said. Bye kids. Teacher Rico. See you later.
Hi boys and girls, my name is Teacher Diana and today I'm going to be your memory verse teacher. As you can see, it's raining and this is part of God's creation. And our memory verse from today comes from the book of Genesis 1:1, a verse that you are very familiar with, and it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." Repeat after me. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Enjoy your week and see you next Saturday. Bye.